Late on the evening of the 14th of March 2023, Plymouth City Council had the trees in Armada Way taken down in order to make way for new development, even though 14,000 people have signed a petition to have them kept. Is that right?
The lorries started putting up fences around 6, and then we think they started cutting down the trees around 7:30.
And you think they've removed about 115 off about 129 trees, is that right?
Something like that, yeah, that's right.
And as you can see, most of these have happened in the area from the Cockthorne right down to where at, is this? And so now this work has stopped. There would have been removed further trees further down towards the sundial, is that right? Or some of these ones here?
Yeah, so all but one of those would have been cut down as well. And at least one really devastating.
Yeah, so you can see what we're showing you is on the left there are the stumps of the trees that have been removed. There is one solitary tree standing with it looks like a bird's nest in it. But you can see that all of those stumps and the trees that border the buildings there have been removed, and there they are lying in a large heap in the centre of Armada Way. I guess now the council will come and chop these what's left of these trees, of this wood up and reuse it. But what happens to your campaign now? You've now got a legal challenge going on, is that right?
That's right, yes. As part of the injunction today, we have to serve, file for a judicial review to look into how we got to this point. Hopefully, the injunction in place, so there's no more felling until the end of that process.
That could be quite a time, couldn't it? Judicial reviews aren't quick.
That's right, yeah. I've never done one before. I'm sure it would be a while away, yeah.
And you're funding for this, isn't it? It's going to cost around £30,000, do you think? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, well, hopefully we won't lose. But yeah, it's not cheap. So at the moment we've got a Proud Justice fundraiser going, and there's.
So if you were to win, you'd get your costs back. Is that right?
Well, the council would win, so we would all be paying. Right. You know, no one wins.
No. But you're crowdfunding on, is it Proud Justice?
That's right, yeah, there's a link to it from our Facebook page.
And it's already passed £5,000 this morning, yeah?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. And so how did you feel last night when you came down here and you saw you described them as like munching machines?
Yeah, they were like tree eating machines, there's no other way. They went through that, you know, it was so quick. I don't think anybody expected this sort of reaction from the council and the presence. It was really, really shocking. I mean, they released the results from the consultation at the same time as the new plan, so around 6 o'clock last night. And even in their conclusions, they say that the overwhelming majority of people rejected the proposal. So the reason they've done it late is they'll probably tell you it's health and safety reasons. It's because it's unbelievably unpopular. You've only got to stand here for a minute and listen to the comments of the people walking past to know how unpopular it is. It's really devastating.
We have had people coming up to us this morning, and a small girl walked past a few minutes ago and said how sad it was.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's particularly sad for young people because.
But we're pointing out that the straw. You've never been against the upgrading of the city centre. It was something that was needed.
That's right.
But it was the particular plan that you opposed, that the council proposed, which involved the removal of over more than 100 healthy trees, and some of these trees had a long life ahead of them. Is that right?
That's right. I mean, their own tree survey showed that largely they were healthy trees. I can't remember what percent it was, but mostly they would have lived between 20, 40, some 40 plus years. So there was no justification for cutting them down from their condition. The justifications given by the council with the condition of the soil and all that other stuff, it was all just made up later. It's exactly the same situation in Sheffield, where the inquiry has just proven that council officers misrepresented the tree survey.
I'll tell you what, we're using our domestic
It's just really unnecessary. Like you say, they could have designed a new Armada way with the trees incorporated into it, or many of them.
And that's what you've been campaigning for, as much as to save the trees, for them to go back to the drawing board and part of a scheme that preserves trees, but also redevelops the city centre.
Yeah, there was no need for this. It's completely unnecessary. It's really tragic.
And what's so special about trees? I mean, there's a beautiful thing in themselves, and these, as you say, are healthy trees. But also, we're living through a climate emergency, and Plymouth's declared a climate emergency, and then we're going down something that's putting oxygen back into the atmosphere. That's important? Yes.
Yeah, it's important to me, and it's important to lots of people. Like you say, the Plymouth Council did declare a climate emergency in 2019. They made a Plymouth plan for trees, which they largely ignored. They've ignored all environmental policies. They didn't have to. They didn't have to abide by them according to them because it's permitted development, but they could have abided by their own policies if they'd chosen to.
So as much as this about the environmental scheme here, it touches many things. It touches the regeneration of our legal city centres. It touches the climate emergency. It touches the actual saving of beautiful trees. But also there's an element of democracy in this, and that decision making, how things are done, what the public feel. This has been something. All these issues are something that you're fighting. It's a wide scope, isn't it?
The reason I started the campaign was because I felt like people hadn't been consulted on this, and it turns out they hadn't been consulted on it. And I don't think the people of Plymouth could have done any more to make it obvious to the council that this is not what they wanted, even in the most recent community engagement process. Like I said earlier, that was overwhelmingly against this. What more could people do? And I think it's such a clear and shocking indication that the council don't care about what people of Plymouth want.
Is there now a feeling, though, that this is a fait accompli now that they've done this tree removal now, and they've gone so far? Is there anything to save? I mean, there's some trees left. Or what does it become about now, this new campaign?
Well, I suppose last night we had to make a quick decision, so we went for the injunction, and we did manage to save a few trees. I think with the judicial review we can expose how poorly this has been handled, how they've been misleading the public. We're not even sure this should have been done under the community development rules. There's so many different aspects to this project which have been really poorly handled. And it's just unbelievable. I think lessons need to be learned. It's a shame that it always comes down to lessons being learned later.
And it's odd in a way that we're always asking for Plymouth to be put on a national stage, but we've now been I was reading even just yesterday, coupled with Sheffield, where there's been also a problem over tree removal, and now Glasgow, I read about last night, has also been. And so we're kind of now in the forefront of a national fight on whether local authorities should be cutting down trees, how they're going about cutting down trees, and their redevelopment plans.
Yeah, it's happening everywhere. I hear from lots of people that it's happening absolutely everywhere, and it feels like it's too easy, and it seems to be just the easy option. They don't go to enough lengths to incorporate them into the developmental plans. If you were a developer, you'd follow rules. The council seems to just avoid their own rules.
And what sort of public support have you had? You've got a lot of people in store. There's other store members like you've got custodians.
It's too late, they've done it. So my information would be to everybody who's listening to this, there is a local election coming up in May. Find out who authorised this, who voted for this, get them out, because this is not the way I pay my council tax.
Excellent, thank you. Can I ask your yourself?
What's your name?
Ali White.
And how are you involved in this?
I started a straw campaign
How long ago was that?
the end of September.
Yeah.
So 6 months.
So what happened here then last night?
Well, they turned up with all the machinery and fences and security and contractors and cut down about 115 trees.
Crumbs. Because I live just at the back there, and at about 11, 12 o'clock I thought I was listening to drones. I thought, what drones going off in the city centre?
Yeah, it was pretty shocking.
So how many people were down here last night demonstrating?
Quite a few, but not as many as we'd have hoped. Obviously, it was late. By the time people knew about it, they'd gone to bed. So,
Yeah.
which was obviously their intention.
Was there any? Yeah, of course. Was there any problems?
There was a few people got arrested, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been in Plymouth since 1992, and I've seen an awful lot of hypocrisy in the city, double standards of behaviour to the extreme within the council and the legal system. And it makes me angry, which is what I was talking to you about before. Because it's driving an awful lot of people out of the city. And then they're trying to say on the back about it that it's an international city. And they're trying to promote it at that level. Well, I've been quite often the only person that's been recording things in the, festival-wise. It's a shame really that Plymouth is a city that's got so much going for it. If the mindset was different, you've got to change the council and the way of thinking in the city.
Not helping at
What's
all.
your name again? Sorry.
Ali White.
Hello, what's your name?
It's William Telford, gender editor of Plymouth Live.
Right, okay. And what do you think of this? I know you've got to be non-biased.
Well, I have to be impartial on this, but we are here today to show the scale of the tree removal that happened in Armada Way last night. It's whatever you think of it, it has shocked the public here today. I've been speaking to members of the public, I've been speaking to campaigners, but also ordinary members of the public, and they are quite stunned, both by the project itself, but also by what they're seeing, the visuality that's behind us. Piles of trees chopped down and left. Now, I know that the council is under an injunction. They can't do any work at the moment, but perhaps that is, it's this actual what they're seeing here. This kind of devastation that's happened. It won't be here forever, obviously. Has really shocked the public today.
But it's also the length of time it takes for the new trees to grow as well, and the wildlife have been affected. It's not just here; it's on the Hoe as well. During the last 4 or 5 years, they demolished all the bushes on the Hoe, which is affecting the sparrow, the magpie, and the blackbird population. And they're all getting on the verge of being endangered species.
The council, they are aware of their environmental responsibilities. I'm not a spokesman for them.
I know you're not.
They will say that they're going to replace these with mature trees, and I'm sure, I'm sure they will. But there is an issue here, and it also has shown how important the environment is to the general public. That people are they care a lot more than perhaps we sometimes realise. And I think it's only when you see events like this that sometimes people realise how important the environment is to them.
Right. Thanks a lot for your time anyway. You right there? Good. I've just come out of the city centre onto Plymouth Hoe, and this hedgerow is one of the rare places now for sparrows on the Hoe. And in some areas of the country, sparrows are becoming an endangered species, I think. So there used to be a hedgerow along there as well, but they've taken all that out. And we'll go somewhere else as well, where I recorded 2 years ago, doing a meditation video on sparrows. So 2 years ago I recorded an hour's video, a meditation video of all the sparrows that used to be in the bushes here. And then shortly afterwards, the same year, all these bushes were taken out. Like I said, with the excuse to protect the area from rats. And so the sparrows now just live in that area over there, and there's a heck of a lot of sparrows, and they move from there to the hedgerow at the top. And you got other species as well, like magpies and blackbirds. A lot of this hawthorn, and you could take this out and put proper bushes in to attract the sparrows and keep a healthy environment. Look, you can hear the sparrows in the background. So the sparrows go from this vegetation up to the bushes at the top there, and this is really the only main areas they've got on the hoe now. By protecting nature, we're protecting ourselves, because nature's therapy. And these sparrows are waiting to be fed because they're used to being fed by people in the morning. And same with the pigeons. And in Europe, places like Bordeaux, they actually have nesting, roosting areas for pigeons where they protect them. So just over the back there, you got Drake's Island, and halfway between Drake's Island and Tinside Pool, you've got a great big sewage outlet. So at high tide, they let out the sewage. And last year or the year before, there was a lot of E. coli in the water around here as well. And then you got the River Tamar, the River Plymouth coming outside there, and they're all bringing pollutants off the land into the sound.
Got a handful.